Hey folks, Chris McLean, Peak Performance and Transformation Coach, back with another episode of the Peak Performance and Predictable Growth Show, the peak performance show for creative agency founders, owners, and leaders, where we explore the agency journey from the unique perspective of those at the coalface of the industry. My guests help unlock, dissect strategies, tools, and tactics from the trenches to help you deliver better results for your clients and grow and scale your agency to 6 and 7 figures and beyond. And it's my pleasure to welcome into the studio today Matt from Ecom Convert. They specialize in ecom conversion rate optimization for ecom clients. Matt, pleasure to have you here, mate.
Hey, Chris.
Thanks for jumping online and joining us for the show today.
No pressure at all. I mean, just by the intro, I'm going to try to fit those shoes, but that's a tall order.
Well, we'll see where we go. We'll keep it nice and breezy. So, with that in mind, take us back to give us a bit of an overview: who you are, how you got into agency life, what was that, what called you kind of to service, and let's eventually get into what you do and sort of how you help your clients out.
Gotcha. I mean, it's been sort of a long, arduous, difficult journey. It started simple. I was sort of a natural entrepreneur when I was a teenager. Mm-hmm. I would mow the lawn. I would get my own clients, and I was pretty proactive at getting business, just like simple stuff. And then I actually paid for my university. I went into computer science sort of because of my brother. So I became a consultant in IT. I studied in that field for about 7 years. The last two, I had my own agency, my own freelance agency, doing analysis on programming for clients, and figured out that was not my passion. Also found out I had sleep apnea, and that sort of messed up my health at the time. So I was looking for other things because I sort of tied sleep apnea and my fatigue to what I was doing. So I was like, I don't like this anymore. I'm going to try to find something else. And it actually led me eventually to finding my passion, which is ecom user experience. But it took a while, right? I had to try different things, try different businesses. Some worked, some didn't work. And eventually one day I asked myself, what am I really, really great at? What am I passionate about? And what is there really demand in the market? And at that point, user experience and trying to help increase conversion specifically for ecom was that answer. So, but it took years and years of sweat, blood, and tears, and disappointments, frustrations, and perseverance. And now, honestly, since I am having a great year, and I think now, you have that hockey stick figure. I'm in that beginning of that hockey stick figure, but it took forever for that to happen. It feels like so. Yeah. Lots of pain, a lot of pain.
Yeah, but that's the classic entrepreneurial battle, and that's the challenge and the journey and the process that a lot of us have to go through. You have to fight failure, right? You have to overcome that struggle. You have to be willing to persist through the downfalls and the struggles and all that stuff to come out the other side, like you said, stronger. And now you're actually on the uptick. And I also like with you sort of the way you talked about how you sort of mapped passion, purpose, all that stuff. It sounds a lot like you might have heard the Japanese concept of ikigai, which is that idea of sort of 5 areas. And what are you great at? What do you actually enjoy? So what are you passionate about? What does the world need? What can you get paid for? And sort of the central point of that is what they call ikigai, which is this living a life of passion and purpose and contribution to the world. So, like how may take us through that process. Like, how did you go through that for yourself? Was it you just looked back and said, well, I tried that and that didn't work? Were you an avid online shopper? How did you sort of come across ecom and user journey? And because it's quite a specific thing to fall in love with and get passionate about. So I'd be interested to hear how you came across that as your specific thing.
Yeah, it sort of happened naturally as I tried different things. And then, I had some people I was working with as a consultant. I tried different things, like I was doing mind mapping training and actual live facilitation with mind maps. And then fell into more website development because that was my background. So I went back a little bit in that. So, and then I started just analyzing the user experience, because my natural kind of tendency was to criticize what I was looking at. I mean, if I was looking at the website, I was like, I don't like this part. I mean, it's not clear. What is this about? I just had that natural kind of predisposition to being critical all the time.
To judge things.
Right, to judge things, good or bad.
Yeah.
And then my clients at the time, and people I was working with who were friends with, mentors and different people, started sort of asking me for these audits, or to have me take a look at the website that they were helping, or this company they were helping. One of my thoughts on that. So it's kind of how it started. But I honestly think it just was a natural thing for me. It was already a strength, if you will, and something that I had interest in. And then I just had some opportunities that presented themselves, and I figured out that, hey, I actually enjoy doing this, and I'm pretty great at it. After doing a few audits, I was like, well, maybe that's, something that would make sense for me to specialize in. And then the second specialty was e-com after that. Honestly, for e-com, there wasn't really anything particular for that decision. It was just, I had to sort of choose a field to be more narrow, more specialized. And I figured, e-com had a lot of potential. So I just started learning, and I was interested in it. I was like, all right, just going to learn about user experience specifically for e-com. And then I just went through various, training and a lot of research, made my own content from there, and gradually became an expert. Took a while, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, expertise and mastery takes time, right? So what sort of time, what year are we talking here? Sort of at the start end of ecom, or?
Yeah, the start of this journey for my current specialty, it was about 6 years ago, 6 years. And I mean, it started slow, and then maybe 5 years ago, and then I committed to, to develop that expertise, and then I started researching more and more, and then getting more and more projects. But honestly, like I said, the hockey stick figure started only in the past few months, whereas I was getting some projects last year, but not even remotely close to what I'm getting right now and the acceleration I'm getting. So I guess that's pretty normal for business.
Yeah, may talk us through that, because I think that is an important thing to cover for people that are just starting out. Delayed gratification, right, is an important part of being an entrepreneur. You've got to have that capacity to kind of have this recognition that what you're doing today won't necessarily show up tomorrow. There can tend to be this time lag between cause and effect. So as entrepreneurs, particularly as agency owners, we really need to be very conscious that we just need to keep doing the right thing daily, because it's the right thing to do. And eventually, as you said, that hockey stick eventually will kind of kick up the right way. Maybe take us through some of your mental processes, some of your practices, your habits. How did you maintain through that slump? It's like through last year, building the business. How have you kept yourself diligent, pushing, consistent, all that kind of good stuff?
If it wasn't, if there wasn't swearing in there, I would use the quote from the John Wick movie of, I don't remember the exact words, it was something like, sheer will and determination.
Yeah.
Honestly, just being determined, really wanting it really, 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 really badly, and then just going after it and persevering every single day. I've been working 7 days a week for many months now, like on a consistent basis, really 7 days a week, all day. Now more than ever, because I'm getting a lot more projects, so I'm a lot busier. But even before that, I was working easily like a solid 6 days a week, and then a little bit of the 7 day. Now I'm like truly 7 days a week. So it's tiring, it's exhausting. I don't think it's sustainable over the longer term. And as I grow, I'm going to be able to delegate more. But at the same time, I look at my brother, and he's still doing that. So he's a little bit older, much more successful. But through that journey, to answer your question a little bit more specifically, I mean, waking up and just taking it one day at a time. Sometimes it's hard to start the day. You're not feeling motivated. And sometimes I'll take a break, if I really need to regain some motivation and some purpose. Sometimes you need to take some time to reconnect to that passion and that purpose. And it comes back, like if I lose it, and then I'll struggle for a day or two, maybe I have some negative emotions, a lot of frustrations accumulated from different things coming my way. A lot of failures at the same time, and then I just give myself some time, maybe rest a little bit more, take a nap, play some piano, take a walk, and then get back to it, and then I refocus, and then I have new motivation from new projects and new things coming my way. Usually what would happen is that I would struggle, and then something positive would happen. And then that would kind of keep me motivated, because I would work hard, and eventually you're bound to be rewarded for that work.
Yeah, I absolutely agree that especially when you're starting out in that entrepreneurial journey, there is a lot of grind. There is grind and hustle. I tend to push the opposite way from hustle and grind, because I think it can be quite toxic and it can be quite detrimental too. As you said, like burning yourself out, where you just kind of power through. And a lot of the science and research at the moment, the latest sort of says burning out and staying in this kind of gray zone of just powering through. He said 5, 6, 7 days a week, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 hours a week actually isn't when we're most effective. We're better when we do, as you say, ride our peaks of performance and then understand that there's going to be an energy drop-off at some point, and we're better to actually ride that wave down and recover and take a break and go for a walk and clear our heads and then come back, re-energize and follow that next peak, rather than kind of burning through those peaks and sort of staying in this gray zone. But so I do agree that there are times where you just have to hustle and grind, and it does take that grit and that diligence and some sheer willpower of, look, fuck it, I just don't feel like it today, but I've got to crack on anyway. So it's really important to have kind of that redundancy, as you were saying, that willpower, those reserves of, why am I doing this? That's what I'd like to get into next. What is your why? Did you have that when you talk about reconnecting to your motivation and your passion? Did you have that big vision of, this is what I'm going for? Did you have your vision written down, your mission, your values? What did you come back to reconnect with that motivation and that passion?
Yeah, that's a great question. And honestly, I think a lot of it has to do with nature, like your personality. And I think I've always had sort of that drive, even though, I'm 41 now and I'm not, yet very successful, but I'm on my way. But, it took me a lot longer than people I know around, very close around me. And I'm not comparing, I'm just saying, that's a reality. But I've still always had that drive and that desire to accomplish some greater goals, to have a successful business, and to buy a penthouse with a grand piano so I could play on a nice piano every day. To me, that's my second passion, is piano. But honestly, it's not really for the money. It's more for the things that you can do with that, and the feeling of accomplishment. So it's more about the drive in itself and the journey than what it's getting me. Because honestly, when I have successes, it's exciting for a day, and we've all heard that before, but I'm living it. I'll have a success where a new project comes in. Yay, that's great, that's exciting. All right, but then you get back to the work, and you're not so excited anymore. So it's not really for the successes themselves. It's more for the journey of actually getting better and better and doing better and better, just going to the next level. Yeah. So I can't say really that I've done a lot of writing of goals when I was younger, and a lot of reading of self-help books and all that stuff. But honestly, now it's just about, hey, I love what I do. I'll try to become more of an expert every day and grow the business, because it's fun. It's fun, and I get to help a lot of people doing it. So
yeah, exactly what you're saying. You got to love the process. If you're not enjoying the process and understanding that there's ups and downs, there's ebbs and flows. Some days are going to be awesome. Some days are going to be a bit shitty. But as long as you understand that's part of the journey, and you're enjoying the process, and you're actually enjoying the failures, right? And you're enjoying those challenges, and you're seeing those challenges as opportunities to level up and get better. And we talk a lot about habits are the compound interest of self-development, right? So that 1% on 1% on 1% over time creates this compounding effect, like compound interest in financial terms. But it's often very hard to see. If you think of like an exponential curve from 0.0001 to 0.0002, you can't really see the difference. But once you hit 1, 2, 4, 8, 16, that's where you talk about that hockey stick. So yeah, I like what you're saying. 1%, if you can get that 1% better, master your craft a bit better, just make one extra phone call, make one extra connection, right? Do that 1% a day.
It compounds.
It compounds over time, and that sounds like that's exactly what you've sort of been pushing through. You've taken that challenge on. You said, "There's something bigger for me. I want to accomplish something, and I'm driven to achieve, and I'm just going to go through that and make sure that I'm doing everything I can to put myself in the best state every day to get that 1% better than I was yesterday." I think that's really important.
To be fully honest, going back to your earlier point, I don't generally like either. But there's grit in there, and I just persevere because it's much more satisfying to overcome the obstacle than it is to have it easy and just succeed without having to work for it. So I think just the fact that I had to work hard for it is a lot more satisfying and rewarding, to have gone through this journey and to finally be doing better and better and better.
Yeah.
But, I can't say necessarily that I'm waking up every morning, with an optimized mindset, and I don't think that I do necessarily the best job at working on my energy or my state or the things you mentioned there.
Yeah.
But it's more about, for me anyway, it's more about drive, grit, and just loving what I do, and just keep doing what I'm passionate about.
Yeah. That's a great way to approach it, right? And you can get pretty far with that. That can definitely get you going and get you into that hockey stick. But I'll be very interested to see how adding some of that stuff in to your channel. We're just sort of before the show, we were talking about sleep and the importance of sleep and how important it is just to kind of bookend your days and say, like, I'm going to do an 8-hour day today, or I'm going to do a 7-hour day today. And that every single day I'm doing that, and I'm going to fit regardless, I'm just going to fit everything into that 7-hour block.
Oh man, I wish. I should try, but honestly, I do about 70 to 90 hours a week. Well, these days it's more like around 90. From 9 a.m. to about midnight, 1 a.m., depending on the days. But I do sleep usually 7-8 hours consistently. So I try to rest enough, and I took a short nap this afternoon. It helps. But honestly, I think it's somewhat sustainable. Maybe it's just in my genes, and I know my brother's the same. We're really, really, really hard workers. But I think I could probably, I would agree with you. I think I could probably achieve a little bit more and make better decisions and have a better output if I rested more and took some more time off. Because I noticed that when I actually stopped, when I forced myself to, go take a bath or go take a walk or something and actually disconnect for a little while, for a few hours, I see a difference. And then I actually feel the stress kind of leaving my body, and it takes me a while to disconnect. It's really, really hard. I'm like really hooked to that adrenaline.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, man, that's the thing though. That you do get hooked on that dopamine, the adrenaline. Norepinephrine is the brain's version of adrenaline. But you also get hooked a lot of cortisol right at there when that becomes sort of chronic, right? And you do that for a long time. You do get a lot of stress, and you get cortisol and sort of a lot of that neurochemistry. And exactly what you're saying, when you take a bath, when you relax, you get this kind of nitrous oxide flushing of the system. So that exact feeling, exactly what you described, you feel the stress disappear. You're literally allowing your system to decompress and refresh and revitalize itself and come back ready again to go up to another peak. So I was sort of talking before, if you stay in that kind of chronic stress, sure, you absolutely get stuff done. But if you're willing to kind of push yourself to take a break, which I know is really hard for a lot of A-type, hard-charging, gritty, motivated people, we just want to crack on and get shit done. And it can be really hard, right? It can be a challenge to actually take that break and take time off.
But yeah, it proves to be very effective. And I think exactly like you're saying, it's a lot about how you feel.
Mm-hmm.
You feel like you're refreshed. You feel like your mind's kind of switched back on. Your body's ready, and you get more done in that time because you are refreshed rather than being a bit fried.
Honestly, my question is, I mean, it's more a rhetorical question, but I wonder how much more you get done by being more rested and being more productive during that shorter amount of time, as opposed to, keep going longer. And I understand that you're maybe a little bit less on the ball and less focused and maybe a little bit less productive during that time. But if you work twice as much, are you really half as productive or 25% less? So in the end, maybe the result is more positive, like you get more done. You know what I mean? So that I'm not 100% convinced that by working 5 days a week and taking the weekend off, that I would be doing better. I mean, I would definitely be less stressed, for sure. I'd be a little bit healthier, right? Sure. But in terms of productivity and getting shit done, I'm not entirely convinced.
Yeah. Well, we should talk. I mean, the figures are, you look at around anywhere from 300 to 500% increase in productivity, increase in creativity, increase in effectiveness when you're optimizing your state and you are working with your biology. So the essentials of peak performance is that you want to get your biology working for you rather than against you. And when you're not, we have these biorhythms where we peak and trough hourly, daily, right? So we want to really ride those waves. And if we're not riding the peak of the wave and then recovering when our energy drops off, and we're just trying to stay productive, we never really get back up to that peak. So that's sort of essentially what's happening. If you stay in that kind of gray zone of just kind of carrying through, you're not hitting that peak of where you could be energetically, focus-wise, efficiency, effectiveness, and your output does actually drop off. But it is exactly like you're saying, it feels like you're really productive when you're working a long day and you just kind of keep going. Has this weird felt sense of productivity. But what's actually going on is actually a significant decline in productivity and effectiveness. So there's been quite significant research around this lately. And certainly points to taking breaks, slowing down, doing more with less tends to create better output and better results over the long haul. So I think it'd be interesting for you to kind of run that experiment for a week, right? Change it up for a week, try taking more breaks, put tighter bookends around your days. There's and I'm talking a lot here, but there's a Parkinson's law is this idea that essentially tasks will expand or contract to fit the time that we allocate to them. So if you say, I'm going to work a 12-hour day, your day will expand to fit a 12-hour day. If you say, I'm going to work a 7-hour day, your time's somewhat arbitrary anyway, right? Time's pretty arbitrary. And the way we can leverage time is through our energy and our attention and our focus. And when we're sort of burning out, we're burning through a day, we're not recovering and resting. Our attention drifts, our focus is off. And that's really the critical stuff. When we're hyper focused and really paying attention, our output tends to increase. So that's kind of some of the mechanics of what happens when you do sort of ride it a bit more.
Do you know in that research if it accounts for like personal differences in terms of endurance? Because each person is different. Some people have more endurance than others.
Yeah, of course. There's always personality and character. You said some, an A-type hard charger is a very different personality to someone who's more, B type or a C type and more mentally driven. But a lot of it comes down to the fact that personality tends not to scale, whereas biology scales. So if you can get the biology right and sort of somewhat hack the biology and understand what's happening at a biological level and use that as your mechanism of, okay, let's replicate that. Let's replicate the biology rather than trying to replicate the personality of this person over here just has a personality type that lets them
crack on 24/7, that's less scalable than understanding the underpinning biology and then using that kind of as the mechanism of let's understand what that is, and that becomes scalable. So that's kind of the underpinning mechanics, is understanding the biology, because we all carry the same biology, essentially, right? The human genome, the human biology, we're hardwired to respond to the environment and to work and operate in a specific way.
Yeah.
So decoding that, then recoding that for a daily practice, is exactly sort of that's what I coach in my work and what I try to bake into my days. So it's really interesting, because the felt sense, as you say, the felt sense of just powering through can feel quite accomplishing. But yeah, we're starting to see in a lot of the research that it's really just not the case. So it's very, very, very interesting. I'd love to see you run the experiment for a week, and sort of maybe we'll get you back on and sort of see how you've gone and get a report from the field on how it felt and what your productivity was like.
We'll see. We'll see if I can afford it. Yeah, but I mean, I see in terms of results. I mean, you're saying there's a perceived sense of accomplishing things, but I also see in terms of making progress on the projects. If I spend more time on them, I'll make more progress. But I agree with you that I need to do less and delegate more. I mean, you didn't mention delegate, but one way to do less is to delegate more, and I'm working on that.
Absolutely.
But the issue is it's always a sort of a balance between, bringing in more business, which means that you need to increase your capacity. So, but if you have too much capacity, then you're paying more than maybe you can afford in terms of. Thankfully, I don't have employees; it's all freelance. But if you have employees and you have too many employees for the work that you have, then you're losing money. So it's a balancing act between the two. But the more capacity you have, the more you can delegate. So difficult.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like we were saying, it's absolutely a balancing act, as kind of with everything in life, right? Nothing's black. Rarely things are binary and black and white, and it's 100% this way or 100% that way. So yeah, it's important to understand it is a balancing act. Everything kind of oscillates a bit, and a lot of kind of what I was just covering, that is aspirational, right? That's what we would love to get to, but reality is kind of somewhere in between. But yeah, it's sort of important to understand the baseline and understand where we could get to, and sort of have that aspirational as our target. And like you said, that's with your business. And when you had those down days, you had that aspirational thing that you were reaching for, and that's what picked you back up and got you going again. So it kind of works in the same way, that having that aspiration of this is what I'm doing this for, here's what I'm aspiring to, that can sort of pull you out of those difficult times.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that's a good idea, and probably good advice for a lot of the entrepreneurs watching this, is to actually force yourself to. And I should do it. I should take maybe half a day. I mean, I can't even take a full day at this point. But let's say half a day. Go get a massage, or just relax, not work at all. Turn off the phone, or turn off notifications at least. And then just get a break.
Even just taking those breaks during your days, and try and do those 45 to 90 minute where you're super focused on working, and then take a break, take a walk, do a bit of exercise, do some push-ups, and then come back to it. Even that will just kind of refresh and renew the system, and let you make sure you're hitting the top of that sort of performance.
To be fair, when I eat, I'll take half an hour, 45 minutes. It depends if I'm cooking or not. But when I'm eating, I'll put on a YouTube video instead, something that totally not related to work. I'm not learning anything, just pure entertainment. Completely disconnect for a little bit. And you're mentioning push-ups. I'll do exercise during the day, like throughout the day, to stay healthy first of all, and then try to feel better and get rid of some of the stress. So I'm already doing some of those things throughout the day, but it is a good reminder, and thanks for that. But it is difficult. I'm living it right now. There's a lot of demand on my time, more and more, and it's a very difficult balance to strike.
Yeah, it can be tough, because it's kind of the literal opposite of what we generally tend to feel like we want to do. So it's very interesting finding that balance and trying to see what's going to work for you, what's actually going to make you the most effective that you can be. Interesting conversation. Yeah, this has been really interesting, Matt. Sort of live coaching conversation. But no, I appreciate your sort of openness and honesty and willingness to sort of have this conversation. It's been really interesting from my perspective to kind of get into a bit and have a bit of a challenge on where you're at.
Back and forth. I didn't know what to expect. So this was very, very pleasant. So thank you for the session, for the video.
No, my pleasure, my pleasure. If people do want to find out more about you, connect with you, people out there running e-com businesses, and you need some user journey, some strategies, some UX done, some conversion rate optimization, reach out to Matt. What's the best place for them to come and find you?
Honestly, my group, the link is in there, but it's the Ecom Convert group, or they can reach out to me on Facebook directly. They can send me a friend request. Usually I accept most people, or an email through the website. Honestly, all of those are good.
Okay, awesome. So reach out to Matt. If you're running an e-com business, any particular type of e-com people you work with, platform agnostic, more Amazon, more online shops, anything?
Everything except Amazon.
Okay, everything except Amazon. Okay, nice.
I don't have that expertise yet. It's coming, but not quite yet. No.
Okay, everyone else, if you're running anything else but Amazon, reach out to Matt and get your conversion rates optimized and get your profit flowing. Matt, it's been a really interesting conversation. Thanks for joining us. I know it's probably not time for you to switch off. You've probably got another 5 hours of work to get done at this point, even though it's 7 o'clock at night for you.
All right, thank you so much.
I appreciate you taking the time out, mate. And we'll stay connected and chat soon. And everyone else, thanks for tuning in as always. And we'll catch you on the next episode. Thanks for staying with us. We'll see you soon. Cheers.
Cheers.